So welcome to today's chemistry class, children. So we move on with the topic that is the next chapter named P block elements. So in the previous classes we have learnt about the S block elements, their properties and the group wise variation, right, for each of the alkali metals as well as alkaline earth metals, and also we have studied regarding the properties of compounds which are formed by S block elements. So nextly we start with P block elements. And you know that P block elements are the elements where the last electron which is filled is usually taking place, or the filling takes place in the vacant p orbital, right? So here usually the filling takes place, or the last electron filling takes place in the p orbital of the valence shell, of the valence shell. Okay, so as we know that p orbital actually consists of 3 orbitals, right? So maximum p orbital consists of 3 orbitals, that is p shell. Okay, so where how many electrons can be filled? There can be 6 electrons which can be filled. Maximum of 6 electrons can be filled in p orbital. Okay, so mainly there are 3 orbitals where you can fill 6 of the electrons, okay, in this particular thing. Okay, so this is the main important property which is to be remembered regarding the p block elements, that the last electron filling takes place to the outermost orbital, that is p orbital, and it consists of 3 orbitals where maximum of 6 electrons can be filled. So usually, you know, p orbital or the p block elements are usually to the right hand side of the periodic table, where mostly there resides the non-metals as well as the noble gases family. But one thing to be remembered is that usually in p block elements, okay, which starts from group 13 to group 18, okay, they usually consist of non-metals, they consist of noble gases, they consist of metalloids, and also metals are also present. You know, the heaviest element in the p block is considered to be a metal. Okay, so there is variation in their property or in their nature too. So you have non-metals at the starting, then you have metalloids, but towards the heavier elements it turns out to be the metals. Okay, so this is one thing to be remembered, that p block elements consist of metals, they have metalloids, and then they have mainly the non-metals. So all 3 are present in p block elements. Now suppose if you see this particular table, okay, you see that from group 13 to group 18 are all called p block elements, because the last electron which is filling goes to the vacant p orbital over here. Now if you see the general electronic configuration which is to be written for p block elements would be, that is ns2, and then you have np from 1 to 6. So 6 electrons can be filled in the p shell. So you have 6 electrons. So we write the electronic configuration as ns2 and np 1 to 6. Now this electronic configuration is not applicable for one element, that's the noble gas with atomic number 2, that is except for helium. This electronic configuration does not hold good. Helium electronic configuration is just 1s2, right? So this electronic configuration is applicable for all the other elements except for helium. Another thing. Okay, so these are the general electronic configurations which is written for each of these families. So you have the first member comes boron family, then you have carbon family, then comes the nitrogen family, oxygen family, fluorine, that's the halogen, and then the noble gases. So these are the electronic configurations. Suppose if you have to write boron, you write it as ns2np1, which comes under the group 13. In the same way, if you have to write the electronic configuration of carbon, you write it as ns2 and np2. In the same way, nitrogen would be ns2 np3, oxygen would be ns2 np4, fluorine is ns2 np5, and then you have the noble gases with filled electronic configuration, that is ns2 and np6. starting from 13 to 18. And you know, the oxidation state of all of these elements, okay, and their properties, their physical properties, maybe if you take the ionization energy, or if you take the values of electronegativity, or you're talking about the chemical properties, any of these properties for p block elements will usually be varying. Okay, so for each group, depending on which group you're talking about, each of these property will have a lot of variation. It is just not when you compare it to S block, usually they have similar properties. But if you compare P block, they will have few of the variations because of different effects. Like you have inert pair effects, and also there is electronegativity difference, and all of these properties will matter for the variation of these properties. Let me come to it slowly one by one. Now first of all, talking about p block elements, okay, their oxidation states would be equal to the number of valence electrons present in their outermost shell. Now suppose I have written here group oxidation state, which means that the number of electrons present in their shell, that means here you have 2 of the s orbitals and 1 you have p orbital, which means in p orbital you have 3 orbitals as I said, which is nothing but px, py and pz. So here totally in this group 13, if you see, there are 2 s orbitals and there is 1 p orbital, which means that there are 3 orbitals present. So the oxidation state would be also equal to the number of orbitals which are present, or number of electrons which is filled in the shell. So there are 3 electrons which is filled, that's why you have the oxidation state as +3. And these oxidation states are also called the group oxidation states. So in the same way, if you see group 14, then you have 2 electrons and 2 electrons, which means 2 from the s orbital and then you have 2 from the p orbital, which makes it 4, and that's the group oxidation state of the carbon family. In the same way, here 3 plus 2, which is 5, that means the group oxidation state would be 5. In the same way, 6, 7 and 8. So these +1, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7, +8, all these are also termed to be the group oxidation states of p block elements, starting from group 13 to 18. Now there can be different oxidation states which are shown by the elements in the p block rather than these group oxidation states, so called group oxidation state. There can be other oxidation states too, okay, but there are some effects which I also said it as inert pair effect. This term is important, inert pair effect. Now what do you mean by this inert pair effect? Okay, now you see that there are in an atom there are s orbitals, then you have p, then you have d, then you have n. Alright, all these shells are present. Now if you compare s and p, s has more shielding effect towards the nucleus. Okay, it can shield the other electrons very nicely or very properly. But if you compare d and f shells, they have less shielding effect, which means they are really weak to shield. Okay, the other shells, okay, or the other orbitals. So if you just go down the group, exactly now if you take group 13, and as you go down the group, starting from boron and then so on, okay, boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, okay, tellurium. If you go on, what happens is that these can show varying oxidation state, which has a difference of 2, okay, which will vary their value from 2. Now see here is actually +3, but this has a difference of 2. In the same way, +4, which has a difference of 2, +5, difference has 2. So difference of 2 electrons, okay, or the difference of 2 in the oxidation states is mainly due to inert pair effect. Why inert pair effect? What do we call it as inert pair effect? Now as you go down the group, as I said, there are d orbitals which are filled and also f orbitals which are filled. So suppose here you have 3d and then you have 4s and then you have 4p, which means that this 3d has less power of shielding towards the nucleus, and that's why this 4s gets more attracted towards the nucleus, right? If this has less shielding effect, which means means that this 4s electrons can get attracted to the nucleus more closer to it. Right? So what happens, the size also becomes lesser. There is more of attraction, size becomes lesser, and the removal of electrons also becomes difficult from S. Right? So it is not possible for us to remove all the 3 electrons from this. So what happens, only 1 electron can be removed from the outermost shell. This is what it means, and that's why the oxidation state can be +1. Getting it? So this is what is called the inert pair effect. Inert pair effect is due to the poor shielding effect of d and f orbitals, which makes the 4s orbitals or any s orbitals more pulled towards the nucleus, which makes the size also smaller, and because of this the removal of inner s electrons becomes really difficult, and because of this the outer electrons can only be removed, and because of this they will have variable oxidation states, and this effect is called inert pair effect. This is very important. So usually in p blocks they show varying other oxidation states due to the inert pair effect, where carbon will also have +2 and -4. Okay, this can also be shown, or in the case of nitrogen there would be +3 or -3, or in the case of oxygen there would be +4, +2 or -2, and now all of these minus values usually, towards the group 16, group 17 and 18, there is another property, that is electronegativity difference. So due to electronegativity difference also there can be variable oxidation state. So here you have 3, see, +4, +2 and -2. Then you have +5, +3 and +1, +6, +4, +2 and all of these. So mainly the variable oxidation states of the p block elements when you go down the group are usually due to the inert pair effect, and also the difference in the electronegativities. Difference in the electronegative values, electronegativities. Okay, so this is regarding the variable oxidation states which are shown by the p block elements. So usually p block elements are the ones where the last electron filling will be done towards the p orbital, okay, and they have 3 orbitals which can consist of maximum of 6 electrons, and they include metals, metalloids as well as non-metals too. And then we have the general electron configuration, which is written as ns2 and np1 to 6, except for helium, which is the electronic configuration of 1s2. So this is how you have the families, different families starting from boron to the noble gas, that is helium. So the group oxidation state would be equal to the number of orbitals which are present. So total N, you would get the group oxidation state, whereas the other oxidation states are due to either the inert pair effect, or towards or across period it would be usually due to the difference in the electronegativities. So these two are the reasons why these elements would have the variable oxidation states. Now talking about the p block elements, usually they will have the non-metallic property which decreases down the group. As I said, in the p block elements there are heavier elements which usually are metals. Okay, so we say the non-metallic character usually decreases down the group. Non-metallic character, when you talk about the p block elements, non-metallic property or the character, it decreases down the group. Okay, so this is one thing which is to be remembered. And also usually these p block elements will have high values of ionization enthalpy as well as high value of electronegativities. Now what do you mean by ionization enthalpy? It is nothing but the energy which is required to remove an electron from the outermost shell, which means for all of these non-metals it is difficult for us to remove the outermost electron, right? So it requires more energy. So what happens? The ionization energy will also increase, as well as in the p block elements, when they attain the noble gas configuration, the energy which is released when they gain an electron will also be more. Hence, electronegativity will also be more. So that's what it says, that ionization energy increases and electronegativity or electron gain enthalpy will also increase for both the p block elements. so this is one thing. And also in the case of p block elements, usually if a best ionic or strong ionic element or a compound is to be formed, then that usually happens between a strong metal as well as strong non-metal, right? So if there is a metal as well as non-metal combining together, okay, because of their high difference in electronegativities, the bond formed would be ionic in nature, right? But if in the case of two non-metals which are combining, I said metal and a non-metal, then it would be ionic. But in the case of the non-metals, when two non-metals are combining, then their bond would be covalent in nature, because the difference in the electronegativities is lesser. But in the case of ionic bonds, the difference in the electronegativity is more, right? So always when a bond is formed between a metal and a non-metal, it is usually ionic in nature, whereas in the case of covalent, it is usually between non-metals, two non-metals. So this is one thing which is to be noted down. And also these covalent or metallic nature, okay, or the ionic nature can be usually identified by the nature of oxides. Nature of oxides in the sense, usually metallic oxides will be basic in nature and non-metallic oxides will be acidic or neutral in nature, and that is how you can find the property of the p block element. So usually non-metals or non-metallic oxides, okay, will be acidic or neutral, whereas metallic oxides will be basic in nature. Okay, so this is how you can identify which is a non-metal and which is a metal which is present in p block elements. And usually if you see the p block elements, the first members of the p block elements, like you have boron, carbon and so on, okay, the first few of the elements, they will have some of the unusual properties rather than the elements which are present in their own group. Just like in the S block elements, you have studied regarding the element that is lithium, right, and also beryllium, which have unusual properties than the elements present in their own group, okay. That is mainly due to the smaller size. As I said, due to their smaller size, okay, they would have different properties, slightly covalent nature, which you have studied already, or they may have some exceptional properties rather than the elements present in their own group. So mainly due to their smaller size, okay. And the second thing which especially for p block elements is that first one is smaller size, okay. So the second thing which is applied for usually the p block elements is the involvement of d orbitals. Suppose as you go down the group, if d orbitals are actually involved, right? So if they are involved, what happens to the number of orbitals, or what happens to the number of bonds that can be formed? Obviously it can be increased, because you have s orbitals, p orbitals, and then you have d orbitals, which means that the number of bonds can be increased. Covalence will be more. But in the case of the first elements which only have the p orbitals, the first few elements, the first element of each of the group, they will not contain the d orbitals in their electronic configuration. So what happens? There is minimum number of orbitals which are involved in the formation of bonds. So we say it can have how many orbitals? S as well as P, totally 4 orbitals. So it is a minimum, slightly minimum when compared to all the other elements as you go down the group. So that is one condition, that there is no involvement of the d orbitals for the first member of each of the group. But as you go down the group, the d orbitals are involved, which makes the bond formation easier. Okay, because there are many orbitals which are available for the bond formation. But in the case of these elements, there is no involvement of d orbitals, and because of this, the bond formation is said to be restricted. Okay, up to number 4. Okay, the coordination number would be up to 4. So this is the reason why the first group or the first member of each of these group would have some other properties rather than the group elements.